Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Obviously right now there is an absolute ton of hype for MW2 and Warzone 2. And in the not so distant future, come Call of Duty next on September 15th, we are going to learn an absurd amount of information about each game, especially MW2, but also Warzone 2 as well. And come that announcement, we're probably going to be focusing on the main details of Warzone 2, the major improvements from Warzone 1 to Warzone 2, the new maps, so on and so forth. But going off of all the leaks, all the rumors, all the even somewhat official information that we have now on Warzone 2, there is one very large concern for quite a bit of the player base. I would say at this point, the majority player base, and that is, will there be a small map, a Resurgence style map in Warzone 2? Now, up until this point, we really haven't heard much outside of one specific leak slash rumor from Tom Henderson a bit ago, which we'll recap here in just a moment. But really, as it stands, Rebirth, or I guess more appropriately Resurgence now, because obviously we have Rebirth and Fortune's Keep, is the most popular mode in Warzone, mainly after Caldera's launch. Like, looking back to initially with Verdansk, obviously, or more so Verdansk 84, because that's when Rebirth was introduced. Rebirth was not nearly as popular, or Resurgence was not nearly as popular back during the Verdansk days. Everyone really seemed to enjoy Verdansk as a map. We all were hoping to see some major improvements with Caldera. Whether or not you think we saw those is more subjective than anything. Some players really like Caldera. It seems like the general consensus is that it was more of a downgrade, at least from a gameplay standpoint. Personally, I feel like Caldera's engagements are a lot more fun because it's not on top of rooftops constantly. There's not a million one-way buildings. I feel like that's a little bit more inviting, but the overall layout of the map, that's sort of, you know, individual preference, I guess. Some players like it, some players don't. It is what it is. But after Caldera's release, we really saw a spike in popularity when it comes to Resurgence. Mainly with Rebirth, and then lately with Fortune's Keep. Those maps in the Resurgence mode is incredibly popular right now. So going into Warzone 2, a lot of these main players who pretty much just dedicate all their Warzone time to playing Rebirth or Fortune's Keep are sitting there saying, well, what are we going to be doing come launch? Is there going to be a Resurgence style map for Warzone 2? Are we going to see Rebirth and or Fortune's Keep ported over? Or are we just going to have one Warzone map with no Resurgence mode? Or I guess one main Warzone map. It's always possible that they add in Resurgence on said map like they have in the past with Caldera and with Verdansk. But as of right now, really what we are expecting there to be is just one Warzone 2 map. We already know there's going to be a new big map for Warzone 2, mainly MW2 themed to tie in with that universe, with that lore, and with that storyline. And that should be there on the supposed and rumored launch date of November 16th. And we've talked about this map a little bit before. There are some nice fan art sort of sketches of this map already. I'll throw one up on the screen right now. This one's been out there for a little bit. I'm sure you guys have probably seen this one all over Reddit and Twitter and other creators' videos as well previously. But this map includes a bunch of different locations already. Oasis, War-Torn, Quarry, which is a remake of Quarry from MW2, Oilfield, Modern City, which is supposed to be high-rise, and we already saw glimpses of that in the initial worldwide reveal trailer, and that's actually been confirmed to be a location on the Warzone 2 map by Activision and Call of Duty themselves. We've got Caves, which is supposed to be Afghan, Dam, Marshes, Harbor, Sierra, Observatory, Mountain Town, which is supposed to be Favela, Graveyard, Old Town, Shipwreck, Fishtown, Port, Airport, aka Terminal, and that is essentially what is supposed to be comprising the Warzone 2 map. Now, this map is going to be a huge focus, especially because of all the tie-ins to MW2. Now, that means come Call of Duty next, when we start to learn about Warzone 2, we should start to learn a lot about this specific map. And like I said, with all the focus being on the new Warzone map, I think it's pretty unlikely that they're going to split the focus between this brand new big map, which has all these obvious MW2 iconic locations, and something else that might be new for Resurgence or Rebirth, which obviously is not going to be great news for anyone who mains Rebirth or Fortune's Keep or likes the smaller maps in general. Now, that said, looking back at Verdansk, like I mentioned earlier, when you have a really consistent and solid large map that a lot of the players enjoy, having that alternative Rebirth mode is not necessarily as dire as it is in a situation with Caldera, where that map is a lot more split up the middle of whether or not players like it or not, right? So Rebirth and Fortune's Keep have been sort of pivotal in keeping Warzone alive recently because of the controversy around Caldera, but maybe that's not the case in Warzone 2. Obviously, for that, only time is going to tell. But when it comes down to it, there has been absolutely no talk, no leaks, no rumors of anything Resurgence related already in Warzone 1 being ported over or brought over to Warzone 2's launch. So Fortune's Keep and Rebirth Islands look like they're going to be staying in Warzone 1 as of right now, meaning if you are a Resurgence main and you want to play these small maps, once Warzone 2 drops, you will have to be back on Warzone 1. Now, how long is that going to last? Not forever, according to Tom Henderson, who of course we've talked about time and time again on the channel. Back during the late spring, he ended up posting an article saying a second map is in development for Warzone 2. However, it's unclear when that map is going to release. He seems to indicate that it's likely that it's going to release at some point in 2023, maybe closer towards the end half of 2023. So we could be looking at half a year to potentially a full year of Warzone 2 featuring just one large map. Now, again, in that time period, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw LTMs that shrink the map down to fit that sort of Resurgence playstyle, but it does look like that come launch, according to the leaks, the rumors that we've seen from Tom, and then also just the general marketing plan for the game and what would make the most sense as far as pushing all your focus towards the new main map for MW2 and Warzone 2, we could be going a decent amount of time without a new Rebirth / Resurgence map in Warzone 2, leaving that entire player base sort of waiting, I guess, hoping that they enjoy the larger map so they can shift their gameplay back over to that. But if they don't, they would essentially be stuck on Warzone 1, which in its own right would be kind of unfortunate, considering that with Warzone 2, we should be seeing a ton of gameplay upgrades. Obviously, all the new weapons, which will not be found in Warzone 1, the technical aspects, including a console FOV slider that we talked about earlier on this week that was leaked to be in MW2 in Warzone 2 now, none of that would be accessible to those still trying to play Rebirth and Fortune's Keep or Resurgence on Warzone 1. So you can see why, as the majority of the community is on Resurgence maps right now, why that concern is there. Because you would be missing out on a lot not having a Resurgence style map in Warzone 2, but also it would make the most sense from a business standpoint, at least for Activision, to focus all their eyes on the new main map, because then that can lead to good reports back for quarterly earnings and everything. You know, the new Warzone map had this many players playing on it rather than splitting it right up the middle right away, because I feel like a lot of the Rebirth players, a lot of the Fortune's Keep players already have their minds set on, hey, I just want to play the small maps, not necessarily the large ones. And like I said, when you drop them both together, that would essentially split the player base. So hopefully come Warzone 2, we don't end up having to wait half a year or longer for a Resurgence style map to be added in. Perhaps come that launch, we see it drop, and after a little bit, it does sort of get to that point where, man, a lot of the community is looking for that Rebirth style map, that smaller map. Perhaps they push up the development on that and it ends up releasing a little bit earlier. Again, we're going to have to wait and see. Perhaps they talk about this a bit more at Call of Duty next. We're going to find out here, like I said, very, very soon. But for you Rebirth players out there, just a heads up, Warzone 2's launch could bring with it some bad news if you're looking forward to jumping on a new Rebirth map or a new Fortune's Keep map right away. That said, though, that is going to wrap things up for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video despite some of the less desirable news, if you will. If you did, feel free to drop a like on it, though. It does really help the channel grow. And if you're new here or if you haven't subscribed yet, every day I got you covered with all things going on. So feel free to hit that sub button and turn on those post notifications. And as always, if you want to check out any of my partners, be sure to use code IMMORTAL for a discount on all Scuff, G Fuel, Gamer Advantage, and Control Freak products, and the links for all those can be found down in the description below. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.